This is Bytnar Talks, the engineer takes on construction. Episode 5. Hi, I'm Bytnar. Each day I help my clients plan and design building projects through Bytnar Limited, a consulting chartered structural engineer's practice. My biggest passion and the cornerstone on which I've built my business is finding clever solutions for construction projects. I am a chartered structural engineer and a budding software developer, so you can rest assured that I will strive to talk about the best practices and the use of new technologies in the industry. And if you're embarking on a construction project or are involved in planning, designing and building the world around us, you'll find this podcast useful. In this episode, I will talk about the stage 3 of the rebar and ice track T plan of work 2020. Hi and how are you guys? Welcome back to the new episode of Bytnar Talks. I must admit that time flies. It was just the beginning of the year and the release of the first episode, and now we are nearly halfway through February and I am super excited to deliver this episode to you. It feels like a standard thing to do now, to sit down every Sunday afternoon to compose a new episodes for my friends, for you. It almost seems as if I've been doing it for a long time now, and I'm glad to have you back here. I love and respect all of your in-person feedback and hope you can hear it takes on the live form with every next episode. I wonder, why are you shy to share it openly on platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook or otherwise, but I know AEC industry is not marketing and sales, so people are a bit introverted and shy. But come on guys, we need to talk. Without industry-wide and loud conversations, we will not improve one bit. But if you are new to this podcast and wonder what it is this guy all about, I'm now talking about the industry-wide process of construction projects design and development called plan of work. In the first episode, I gave you an overview of all 8 stages of that process, and now we are on the stage 3, spatial coordination, which is an actual 4th step in the process, as stages start from stage 0 all the way down to stage 7. Confused enough? Don't be. You can always return to past episode to understand more about it. In the episode 1, I showed you an overview of the process, then talked about pre-design stages of the process in episode 2 and 3. Last time, I started the design part of the process with stage 2 called concept design, where I emphasized the importance of collaboration between architects, engineers and contractors to identify the right concept we can and want to develop further. Today, I will talk about the stage of the process that deals with further development of the concept design. At this stage, we take the rules of thumb and general layouts and agree on the start quote, final end quote, brief. Everyone agrees on and ensures the architectural vision and required function play correctly with the fire safety, structural, mechanical, electrical and plumbing considerations for the project, and is capable of discharging all building regulations. In the next part of this episode, I will tell you in more detail what this stage is all about. I will tell you what the stage is in a gist, and 6 things to consider, which are 1. Consensus building, 2. Preparation for planning application, 3. Identification of specialist items designs, 4. Caution on tendering costs, 5. Strategic planning, and 6. Setting the stage for in-depth definition. So without further ado, let's dive into it. Okay, so what is this stage in the gist? Spatial coordination is pretty much what it says on a tin, but a little bit more than that. It is a rebar stage 3 which ensures that the structural design aligns seamlessly with the architectural vision, promoting not only structural integrity but also an aesthetically pleasing and functional built environment. Effective communication and collaboration between architects and structural engineers are paramount to achieving a harmonious integration of design elements during this critical phase of the project. This stage is all about reaching a consensus on major aspects of the build and making sure the proposal is as correct as possible, leaving only minor changes to be addressed at stage 4. At this stage, all specialist item designs should be identified for delivery at the next stage, and the design should be ready for the planning application. This stage is not yet the stage where the project should be costed for tendering, but often it is. Now, depending on the chosen procurement route, such an approach will often result in major surprises down the line. This stage is also the stage where most strategies for the delivery of the project should be ironed out and put in place to drive further in-depth definition of the project. There are many strategies to be considered, like sustainability, inclusivity, health and safety, etc. But each in its own terms is broad enough to call for a separate episode or several. So I will not go into too much detail about them here, but you can be certain that I will eventually talk about each and every single one of them in future podcasts. So what are the 6 things to consider? The 6 things that I picked up, and I think they're important to discuss here above anything else. Let's start with the first one. I call it consensus building. Stage 3 involves extensive collaboration among stakeholders, architects and structural engineers, to solidify a shared vision for the project. The vision agreed on in Stage 2, concept design. It is not the place to change the brief, but to assure the concept was correct and to establish size, place, orientation of critical elements, load carrying paths, stability system, structure, foundation interaction, and possible differential movement of elements. It is the time where key decisions relating to spatial layouts, structural systems, and architectural features are made, fostering alignment among all contributors. Once we get the consensus on the most important parts of it, which is architectural concept and structural one, we can move on with the definition of the project. And one of the other points to consider within that stage is preparing the project for planning application. So that's point 2, preparation for planning application. It is a pivotal objective of stage 3. The pivotal objective of stage 3 is to prepare the design for the planning application process, making sure the threshold of required information is reached and that the building will not require substantial redesign, if any at all, at the later stage. All major components, specifications and strategies are or should be identified and refined to meet regulatory requirements, laying the groundwork for necessary approvals, including consideration for higher risk buildings, and start of the golden thread of the information with requirements of Gateway 1. So we need to look after the planning application. We need to have the design ready for it with all of the nitty-gritties. There may be some outstanding things to consider later on, but this may be putting conditions in the planning process. So not everything has to be ironed out. There may be some wiggle area when you go out and submit your planning application, but most of it, especially the important stuff as fire, structure, the architectural concept, they all should be approved and coordinated and put through to planning permission. Another very important part here is, as I think you can already gather from what's involved within that stage, we're not going into the nitty-gritty of every single thing. We're talking about a major aspect of the development that need to be coordinated and agreed upon within this stage. So it is very important, and it is point 3 to consider on my list, is to identify all of the specialist items, all of those specialist things that will need to be designed later on. We need to identify specialist items crucial to the project, and they should be programmed. Their design and coordination should be programmed in the execution plan of the project, so all these aspects can be coordinated prior to designs hitting the construction phase. This includes specific structural elements, often detailing of structural systems like steel connections, reinforcement detailing, glass structures, balustrades, stairs, or HVAC, heating, ventilation and air conditioning, overground plumbing and mechanical and electrical elements. At this point, a general appreciation of possible details and the required space for such elements needs to be agreed on and checked for clashes with main elements, so to avoid future meddling with main components in stages which should only deal with technical and in-depth considerations. Obviously, we won't know about all of those aspects just of yet, like plumbing and layouts of it, but we need to, and we can, assign spaces for this to happen underneath the ceilings, overflows, or whatnot. But you get the gist. We need to think about it, we need to assign space for it, think how it's gonna play with all of the other elements, so we can ascertain main critical parts will remain unchanged when we move to next stages of the process delivery. And here we get to the cautionary point. Cautionary on the aspects of tendering. You see, while stage 3 is not traditionally the phase for sending the project out for tendering, in nature, beasts of project delivery behave somewhat rushed, and people think the level of detail suffices for the purpose. Often full specifications are not ready, nor are the scopes of work defined in detail. So caution is advised here, as depending on the procurement route chosen, premature costing may lead to unexpected surprises later in the project timeline. And as you can probably guess right, inflation of the cost. And finally, the part that is being further developed in this stage, I like to call those things strategic planning. You see, stage 3 serves as a strategic planning juncture, where the overall strategies for project delivery are finalized. Each and every single one of these is broad enough, as I mentioned before, to justify separate episodes, so I will just mention them in brief. You see, we need to think about fire strategy, structural design, coordination, clearances, tolerances and dimensional performance of elements and systems as a whole. Need to think about CDM regulations, health and safety, cost planning, how we're gonna control change, what are our sustainability deliverables, building regulations, obviously. We need to get through the planning application, and we need to know how the building will perform, so performance specification. To name just a few. This list isn't exhaustive by no means. Every project will have a variety of different strategies, things to consider and plan on, but these are typical one on most of the projects. You see, some people may think CDM is only for certain amount of for certain projects of size and complexity, when in fact it is applicable to all construction projects, and we need to think about safety and delivery of projects, whether they're small or large. The difference is with bureaucracy of the process. If the building is a little bit bigger, then we need to notify health and safety executive and perhaps do things in more involved fashion. Also, decision making regarding construction methods and scheduling and risk mitigation strategies is initiated to guide subsequent project phases at that stage. So the sixth thing to consider will be setting the stage for in-depth definition. What I mean by that is setting the stage for the stage. What a mambo-jumbo, isn't it? But never mind, you get it. Critical strategies put in place during stage 3 drive the in-depth definition of the project in subsequent stages, right? This sets the trajectory for a more detailed and refined project definition. It sets the target and specification for the next steps, ensuring a smoother transition into subsequent construction phases and delivery of specialist designs. Well, that was a tough one. I had to write it down and read it to you because, yeah, it is a bit mumbo-jumbo, but that's what it is. It's this stage sets stage for in-depth definition of the project. So if we don't have things well set and coordinated at that stage, you can imagine what sort of mess will come with the next stage when we come to the detailing of structures and start experiencing clashes between different parts of the build. So that would be it. That would be 6 points that I generally think should be considered and thought about in every single project. But obviously they can be more and less involved depending on the type of the project. But that would be it. So here you have it. At its core, stage 3 is about fine-tuning the blueprint agreed upon in stage 2, ensuring that the structural and architectural elements harmonize seamlessly. This stage is not a playground for major changes, but a platform to solidify the shared vision, addressing critical elements like load path, stability system, and spatial orientations of elements, and the entire system. I identified 6 key considerations, which are 1. Consensus building. Stage 3 kicks off with extensive collaboration, cementing the shared vision established in stage 2 concept design. It's not about changing the brief now, but aligning on critical aspects such as spatial layout, structural systems, and architectural features. 2. Preparation for planning application. A pivotal objective is the preparation for the planning application here, ensuring that the design meets regulatory requirements. The stage acts as the gatekeeper, setting the threshold for necessary approvals and laying the groundwork for the golden thread of information. 3. Identification of specialist item designs. Specialist items crucial to the project, from structural elements to HVAC systems, are identified and programmed during stage 3. The goal is to coordinate these aspects before hitting the construction phase, avoiding clashes with main elements. Caution on tendering here. That's point 4. While not the typical tendering phase, stage 3 often sees premature attempts at costing. Caution is advised as incomplete specifications may lead to surprises down the project timeline. 5. Strategic planning. Stage 3 serves as the nexus for finalizing overchanging strategies, from fire safety and structural design to health and safety considerations. Decision making on construction methods and risk mitigation strategies also take center stage here. And 6. Setting the stage for in-depth definition. Critical strategies laid out in stage 3 propel the in-depth definition of the project in subsequent stages. This paves the way for a more detailed and refined project definition, setting the target for a smoother transition into subsequent construction phases. As we conclude this journey through the heart of REBA Stage 3, remember that it's not just about architectural and engineering intricacies. It's a phase where collaboration, careful planning, and alignment set the trajectory for a successful project delivery. Okay, that is it from me for this episode. Stay tuned for more insights into the dynamic world of architecture, structural and construction planning, design and delivery. Alright, a few words from me, guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I think you can appreciate where the process is gently leading us step by step, defining the project in more detail as we go. I very often come across planning applications that are made earlier than stage 3, which then struggle to be fulfilled, taking in consideration all the aspects of the build. Do not get me wrong, it is very often cost effective to go out with planning at the concept design stage, but such needs to be from the information point of view of the stage 3. What I mean by that, it usually is the case with the architectural services provided by non-competent people that such designs are then impossible to deliver on site, as they do not take in consideration structural ramifications, buildability aspects, possible methods of erection, building regulation, and the list goes on. Such designs are sent to planning office for approval, and it is not the planning office responsibility to check if such proposal is fit for purpose. It is more to determine if such proposal is fit for the circumstance. At Bytnar, we often help such clients to untangle themselves from the peril of ill-defined concept and make sure the building can be built safely and to current legislation, but frankly, we much more prefer to be involved from the word go, where we can achieve the magic that our clients are used to. Interestingly enough, many of such projects come our way that have been taken by an engineer to develop further, but these are then ill-defined from the concept. Then more often than not, coordination between the architectural and engineering aspects of it is missing. Poor client is happy that they have saved on the architect and the engineer, oblivious to the fact that the contractor now will take such project and try to make the most out of it, usually blaming both sides, architects and engineers, for all the costs, the additional costs, which will be transferred to the client to suit. However, sometimes we are dealing with a better contractor who's well versed in the game, and they usually contact Bytnar for help. In such circumstances, we go back to principles and deliver designs that save the client a small fortune and make the construction better for the owner, the planet, and for the contractor to build. How much they usually save, you ask? Well, I don't think I'm quite comfortable or can tell you exactly, sharing company secrets, but usually it is enough to pay for our involvement and then again that much. Anyway, I do not want this to be a sales pitch, but I want you to know, my dear listener, that it is important to approach competent people who recognize the industry standard process and its elements so you can benefit from the best definition of your project from the word go. We like to say the paper will take it all. Whatever you write, whatever you draw, the paper will take it all. But whether that can be built physically, that's a completely different story. I hope you have found out something useful in this episode. I look forward to sharing more insights with you in future episodes. As ever, reach out to me on LinkedIn, email me or Facebook. I will always reply to you. You will always be treated welcome. Whatever you say, whatever you comment, we like to hear your voice. I will end this with the standard call to you. Please voice up your opinion. I want to hear from you. Toodaloo.